I can't put into words how grateful I am to live in a country where white people are willing to burn down America when the news tells them that people who look like me are under attack. It shows a person like me that you care until you find out that I vote on behalf of limiting government instead of giving it more power over my life, which progressivism entails. I do not vote for certain socialist ideas because I am afraid of the amount of tyranny that is necessitated from the American government, which has already proven to suck at everything, no matter if the president is Democrat or Republican. I do not vote on behalf of making it harder for myself to own a firearm because as a single woman, I should have the right to neutralize any threat. My ancestors fought for that right. I believe in closed borders because I believe that racism and evil exists all over the world. And I'm not comfortable with the idea of living in a country that can't police who enters and exits it. Trading off security for the appearance of inclusivity is not what I'm comfortable with. It has nothing to do with racial bias against Hispanics. Truthfully, I wouldn't mind if America outlawed migration for the next 10 years to any person of any race, because America is hemorrhaging, corroding, and soon to implode. Would you pour more water into a boat that's sinking? For these reasons, I am called everything but my God-given name, and above all, I am called a betrayer to my race. I know why it is that members of my community call me such a thing, although I'm not entirely sure why you do, why you would. Dear white progressives, before you call me uninformed and quote an Occupy Democrats meme, hear this. When you call a black person who is ideologically right-leaning a traitor to their race, you set yourself up to get beat down. Most of us have left democratic circles for the reason I did. It is absolutely putrid and unacceptable to continue to be told that I am chosen, stronger, superior in race to white men, and that soon the future will be black and look like me. Black conservatives are called coons and traitors to their race because ideologically we've deserted the monolith. So we are traitors by ideological means, whereas I'm not sure you realize you're a traitor to your race in every literal sense of the meaning. Ask yourselves why the black community threatens to kill people who deviate from the norm. I'm not threatened just because I'm a Republican or vote on Republican tickets. I'm threatened because I go against my race when I vote for policies that don't expedite the white race's extinction. Most black people are conservative ideologically, but they vote for policies that politicians promise will make life easier for me and harder for you, under the guise of equality, of course. I'm amazed at the boldness white liberals and progressives show me. I'm a traitor to my race for voting on the same vehicle as the KKK, right? Meanwhile, you march with members of minorities who are happy that your race is dwindling in numbers, who are racist enough to say in dark corners of their progressive safe spaces, the future will be black. Have you thought about what that truly means? Or do you think it's us lifting up one another because we've come so far as a race? Most conservatives have realized by now why the abortion debate is so important to white people, especially white Christians who are pro-life. Most white people know subconsciously that the white race ebbs every day. Abortion is basically doing the extermination for extermination's sake. So they instinctively tell people not to exterminate themselves and keep their babies safe. And they're besmirched and spit on for that. Don't let your black rectangles keep you distracted and fooled. It might be socially acceptable to be woke. It might make you feel a part of something. As a person with privilege, you assume the position of a savior when you post things like Black Lives Matter. But here's what you don't know. When you look at a black person and you see them as oppressed victims who need your help, when you get online and post,
"Don't even talk to me if you don't have hashtag BLM posted."
know that an overwhelming majority of people of color don't appreciate that you've assumed the position of a hero. They see you as a dying dinosaur. Understand, progressives, that when I betray my race ideologically, my life may be at stake. I piss off a lot of people. It's different than when you betray yours, though. No matter how oppressed you feel or think black and brown people are. We will never know what it's like to edge on the cusp of extinction. I am going to die one day, and when I do, I'll know that a part of me exists somewhere. I am the minority here in America because African kings sold my ancestors into slavery. Meanwhile, you are the minority in the world. Ironically, those black conservatives you slander are the ones who overwhelmingly feel concerned when asked, "How do you feel about the white race's decline?" Do you think that when predominantly black gatherings are asked the same question in the progressive safe spaces, they're concerned about your fate on planet Earth? Absolutely not. They feel you deserve it. Do you? Consider this the next time you tell yourself that a black conservative is stupid enough to vote on racist platforms against their own interests. As white progressives, you literally march for and beside tribes who lean toward globalist and brutalist policies that leave you vulnerable to every tribe your ancestors have ever pissed off. You're a traitor to your race because you vote in the interest of other communities who don't just want to take your wealth from you. They don't care if in the next 45 to 50 years you go extinct. I don't mean a fearmonger, but the ones who you ridicule for their toxic masculinity and affinity for firearms might be the same people who save you and your white skin from paying for the crimes you didn't commit, that you spent the last 4 years apologizing for. White guilt is a mental disease. This Coon knows that little black boys in the poorest neighborhoods, who aren't even old enough to grasp what extinction is, they at least know that you, like the white rhino, are threatened as a race, and God has written that into your destiny. It's a part of the black experience to raise our fists in unity and acknowledge that we're unified, stronger than you, we are chosen, and all of that. And that we can endure until God has removed you permanently. That's the truth. And how ridiculous do you think you look when you subscribe to that cause? Stories of how the Caucasian descended from the Caucasus Mountains after mating with animals and went on to colonize are repeated in my community. The reason why your hair is so straight and stringy travels from thick, full lips that suggest that you could have only descended from animals because you smell like an animal when you get wet. These are stories most of us have either fed into and talked about behind your backs or walked away from, like myself. But you insist on thinking that Democratic tickets are the least racist. If you insist on calling me a traitor to my race, I insist on putting you onto the realest tea any stranger will ever give you. Dear white progressives, I am not a traitor to my race. I am a deserter of the illusion that black people aren't racist. The next time you assume yourself as a white savior and scold those of us who vote conservatively, if you insist on taking intersectionality seriously, the oppression Olympics seriously, I hope you remember that you, yourself, vote on tickets with people who remain mum and indifferent to your fate on this planet. Checkmate.